Hi, my name is Autumn. I'm the owner of Automakers Mini Pet Pigs. I have had pigs since 2004. When I got my first pig, there was very little information out there. So what I try to do now is I try to put out real information, not just the pretty stuff. I try to put out real information that can help pig owners, pig families. And today we're going to talk about diet. What should I feed my pet pig? Now, there are many things when it comes to diet with a pig that is important to understand because we don't want to go to either extreme. We don't want to underfeed, that's cruel, our pig, and we don't want to overfeed our pig. That's also cruel because, as you know, pigs have a body shape that is, when they have too much weight on them, it's very hard, very taxing on their body. Also, something that happens is that pigs actually will gain weight right here on their forehead, which causes a fat pad. And if it gets big enough, it literally rolls down over the eyes and it causes them to be what is called fat blind. So when it comes to diet and our pig, it's really important to be balanced. So let's talk a little bit about that. Pigs love to eat, and people love to see their pig eat because pigs love it so much. But we can get ourselves into trouble here. We can actually get our pig into trouble because a pig does not have a brain-stomach connection. They have no connection there. It's completely missing. So when it comes to a pig, they legitimately never feel full. They always feel hungry. And so this can be a problem, obviously, when they're being taken care of by a family that loves them and they're being given their meals. Now, the reason that pigs have this missing link between their stomach and brain connection is because in the wild, pigs are foragers and scavengers. Important to understand that. In the wild, pigs have to eat whatever food that they can find, and they spend a lot of their day looking for food in the wild. So when they're in our homes and we give them food, then that's completely different. You think about it, in the wild, pigs are never just handed a bowl of food. They might come across a very large amount of food, maybe a fruit tree that has dropped most of its fruit, and the pig can then eat all that up. And they have to be able to store food inside their body because they might not find that later. Foragers, scavengers, they're going to eat what they can find. Dead animals, yes, they will eat them. Grubs and bugs and insects and worms and I mentioned fruit and vegetables and grass and whatever they can find. So when we give them their food, then it has a bearing on them. If we are giving them too much food, they're not going to be able to regulate that like maybe a cat or dog would be able to do. So think about it too like this: a farm hog. Farm hogs are grown. They are grown as food for people. And so the way that a farmer gets that farm hog to grow quickly, very large, is by constantly feeding it or giving it food, letting it have access to food at all times, to free feed, or just giving it large amounts of food several times a day. And a mini pig, remember, is not some amazing, magical, classical breed. It's not a breed. It's a classification. So this means any pig under 300 pounds. Yes, any pig under 300 pounds. That is one reason why a lot of people say there's no such thing as a mini pig, because they don't understand that classification is what the mini pig term means. Any pig under 300 pounds. So our mini pig has the absolute same genetics as a farm hog. If we are constantly feeding it, if we're feeding it large amounts of food, it's going to grow larger faster. Now, I want to say here that this is not an excuse. This is not a reason to underfeed your pig. Underfeeding is wrong. Underfeeding is cruel. We need to give the pig's body the amount of food that it needs to do all the functions in the body that needs to be done, and that is going to allow it to grow properly. It's going to allow it to have correct neurological functions so that it can be a fully functioning, happy, thriving pig. That's what we want. Now, when it comes to food, each pig is an individual, and each pig's body needs a different amount of food. There is no one size fits all, which if you get a bag of pig food, it's going to give you some kind of a measurement for the weight of a pig. And those really do not apply to pigs, because pigs are so different. What I do, and what most people like in the pig world do, is they feed their pig according to how they look today. So let's throw out some numbers here. Okay, now remember, this is general. Do not take what I'm about to say and give it to your pig just because I said it and I'm an expert when it comes to pigs. Every single pig is different. So you need to look at your pig's body and you need to see if you need to increase or decrease their food. So I have a pig. His name is Axel, and Axel is, he is going to be 6 years old this year, and he is a very nice, lean body type, meaning he does not have a massive belly. He does not have a fat pad on his forehead. He's a beautifully lean pig, not skinny though. You can't see ribs or hip bones or spine or anything like that, and you can't feel them if you touch him. He gets 1 cup of food twice a day. Now I have another pig, another male pig. His name is Cash. He's 4 years old, and he gets half a cup of food twice a day. Very similar body types, both males, both intact. And yet, if I were to give Cash a cup of food twice a day, he would blow up like a balloon. He would gain weight very quickly. So what I do is I look at my pig and I say, okay, do you look thin? Can I see any hip bones? Can I see ribs? Can I see spine? If I can, if you're looking a little thin, then the food I gave you yesterday is going to be increased by about 2 tablespoons. I never increase or decrease by massive amounts. I never double food. I increase slowly. And when I make an increase or a decrease, then I do that for about 2 weeks before I reassess the situation. Pigs show what they're eating pretty quickly, in general, pretty quickly. Now, if I see my pig and I think, oh boy, you've been grazing, it's summertime, it's beautiful, you've been grazing, you look a little fluffy is what I call it. Or if you look fat, like you're getting overweight, then I'll back off. And again, I back off by about 2 tablespoons. Every day I reassess. Every day I look at my pigs when I feed them, and I look at, if they look great, then we're going to stay the same. If they look a little thin, we're going to increase. If they look a little chubby, a little fluffy, then we're going to decrease their food by about 2 tablespoons. And I'm constantly looking at my pigs to make sure they're getting enough, but they're not getting too much. Now, really, a mini pig is a pet, and they should not be fat. They should not be overweight. I see hundreds of pigs all over social media that are very overweight, and these pigs are not going to have good quality of life, especially as they get older. They're going to be more prone to arthritis. They're not going to be able to use stairs. They're going to die much younger. They're not going to make it to 18, 19, 20 years old. They're going to die much sooner. And like I said, their quality of life is not going to be good. So keeping our pigs lean, and I don't mean skinny, but keeping them lean is where it's at. It's like the sweet spot, especially when it comes to a pet pig, because we're not trying to fatten them up. We're not trying to get them to grow super big so we can butcher them to eat them. We want them to live a very long time. Now let's talk about some pig foods that I really like. Number 1, and I like options all over the board. Some are organic, some are not, some are for mini pigs, some are for just pigs in general. Remember, a pig is a pig is a pig. I know that there are people out there that like push that if you have a mini pig that they have to be fed a potbelly pig food, they have to be fed a mini pig food. But that's not true. And a lot of the mini pig foods I don't care for. And the reason is because what they do is they pull the fat out of that. And then because of that, pigs need fat. They need some fat in their diet. And so what happens is their skin is terrible. They get this orangey buildup, which is natural for a pig, but they get a lot of it. They have a ton of eye seeping and eye drainage and eye boogers and chunky stuff that comes out because their body is not getting the nutrition that it needs. It's not getting the fat that it needs. So there are a few mini pig foods that I actually do like. Now let's talk about some. All right, let's talk about pig foods that I like. Now these foods are marketed more towards farm hogs, but they're not a grower finisher. We do not want a grower finisher. That is going to it has extra sugar in it to keep them eating. It's got more fat in it to help them to grow. So what we want is something that would be more for a sow with piglets or a family pig food. Purina makes a pig and sow. I love it. I love it. I know that Purina also makes Missouri. I hate Missouri feed. I hate it. And I know very few people who like it. I don't like it at all. But the Purina pig and sow, I love. And I use that a lot with my pigs. I also use Kalmbach. Kalmbach is a fantastic food for pigs. Again, it is they might have, I believe they do have a more mini pig potbelly pig feed. I don't use that. I know people who do and they love it. I use the Family Fixings. It's for sow and her piglets. That's what I use for all of my mini pigs. And I use the Purina and the Kalmbach pretty interchangeably because it depends on what I can get at the time. Kalmbach I order through Chewy. Purina I pick up at our local Tractor Supply. Another good feed at Tractor Supply is a feed called Nature's Best. It is more marketed towards potbelly pigs, pet pigs, and it's an organic feed, and I really like it. I notice that pigs that are on it have beautiful skin, and it's a fantastic feed. Modesto Milling Company is another pig food that I just love. It's an organic feed and it does tend to be on the expensive side. If you only have 1 or 2 pigs, totally doable. Really, really good food. And I'm pretty sure you can order it through Chewy. Sharps Mini Pig Food is also a wonderful company. They are a family-owned company. They are a company who is very, very knowledgeable about pigs and their nutritional needs. So that is a food that I also really like. Does tend to be on the more expensive side, but if you just have 1 or 2 pigs, it is much more doable. For me and my 9 pigs, it is really not doable, although they do send us samples at times and my pigs do love it. Oinkbox also makes their own mini pig food, and it's also a really good one. I've never used it for my pigs, but I do know that people that do use it and they just love it. So that is also another really good food. Now, when it comes to feeding your pig, most of these foods are very dry. And so I like to put water over their food because pigs are voracious eaters and they like to just chow down. They sometimes forget to chew and they can choke. So I either like to put water over their food, or remember what I said earlier about pigs being foragers and scavengers. So they have an instinct to forage and find food. So a lot of times what I like to do, especially if it's a nice, beautiful day outside, then I will sprinkle my pig's food on the ground because then again, it takes them longer to eat. They're going to feel more satisfied. They're not going to choke because there's no big chunks of food that they're trying to get down. And it helps them to feel full longer because it's taking longer for them to eat it. Now, I know that sometimes there are people who like to put their own animals' food together. With pigs, it's not really recommended. And the reason is because pigs have very, very specific nutritional needs. So it's really not a good idea to try to put that together unless you have like a PhD in, animal science, and you know exactly what pigs need and you can get everything that they need into their diet easily. A pelleted pig food is made for pigs. It has everything nutritionally that they need. Now, also, it is important to know that some foods are a whole, a complete feed. That's what it's called. They are a complete feed. Some are not a complete feed. So if it's not a complete feed, then they need things added to their diet in order to complete their feed. All the foods that I like are complete feeds. So then I don't have to worry about that. But you can give your pig other fruits and veggies and things like that. That's fine. Just keep in mind that if you are supplementing their food with fruits and veggies, that you may need to cut back on their pellets a little bit. Because again, we're striving for balance here. We don't need to go over the top with the food or underfeeding. We don't want to do either of those things. So thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time right here on my YouTube channel. Feel free to put any questions in the comments.